I was Amila Banglawala. I'm International Director at the Education Department. I was Deputy Head of the Race Disparity Unit in the Cabinet Office. Well, the Race Disparity Audit is the world's first website that contains all data broken down by ethnicity by any government. And so it was transformative in that we are the first government in the world to have ever done this. It was started because the Prime Minister at the time, Theresa May, was clear that she wanted to uncover the uncomfortable truths about race in the UK. And whilst we had for some time had reports about disparities and ethnic disadvantage, be they in employment, be they in economics, be they in education more broadly, or health, we didn't have one depository of that data. And reports come out in fluid ways all the time, but a website is something that's more accessible, more transparent, and definitely a bit louder. When it's never been done, that means there's no blueprint. So you can learn as you go, and you can take risks. So that's the advantage. The disadvantage, of course, is nobody else knows how to do it. So obviously you're going to make mistakes. So we were clear that if it was going to be about data and it was on a website, we had to follow all data principles and all digital principles, which thankfully there are good ethics and systems built around this. So we made very close friends with the data community, ONS and UK Stats Authority, and the digital service here in government to help us understand what the parameters were going to be.
I worked as the head of digital on the Race Disparity Unit within Cabinet Office. Our goal was to gather data from across government, all of the various ministries and departments, and to be able to bring that together and find some way to meaningfully present it to the public in a way that would help us understand exactly what those differences in experiences were. When Theresa May became Prime Minister, there was quite a lot of tension around immigration, and also Theresa May had come from the Home Office, and one of the things that had really struck her was the number of stop and searches. Being a young black male, you were 7 times more likely to be stopped and searched than your white counterpart. So I think this was very much in the public eye line, and within public sector, people choose this vocation because they want to make positive change and positive impact to the societies that they live in, and this certainly really spoke to that.
All government departments publish reports, and so lots of departments said, well, what do you want to build a website for? We already published this in our annual reports or our quarterly reports. We said, yes, you publish it, but not everyone reads it, or not everyone knows how to access it. And now we live in a digital world. There's no harm in putting this on a website. So at first there was a cultural issue. This is before Black Lives Matter. This is before Me Too, where people were hungry for this sort of data. And so it was right to say we need to build a website because an audience may be out there for this. But we had to convince departments to give us their data. So we did an audit with them. And then we suddenly uncovered how much data there actually is on ethnicity. Literally hundreds of data sets. So we had to prioritize then which were the first data sets that would go into the website. And then we started to grow an appetite for what the website looked like. So we took departments with us. The minute you publish a website about data showing disparities across society for ethnic minority groups and the white majority, people are going to say, well, what are you going to do about it? So of course, we also then had to have a program of policy action in key areas. So we worked with the employment sector to build a charter for greater employability across ethnic groups to tackle discrimination in the workplace in different ways. We also worked with the education department, we worked with the health department. We tried to tackle key areas of disparity and say, look, we can't tackle everything all in one go because the website contained hundreds of disparities across groups. So you have to start to pinpoint which ones you think you can tackle in short-term and long period. And so we started a rolling program of policy engagement with departments, but then also working with local government to say, not all of this can be solved by central government. Some of these things are local government issues. Some of these are private sector issues as well. So it was a wider conversation that was begun and still continues because the race disparity audit is still there. Something that is very resonant to me was when Black Lives Matter happened. We suddenly saw a really good BBC segment where they used lots of the data from our website. And we thought, okay, it's found an audience. I mean, it's a tragic situation for it to have happened in, but that also is about ethnic disparity. And so I think that shows the impact of a website when even nobody from the race disparity audit is in the room. but suddenly an audience finds that data and says, this is what matters, this is what we need to talk about, and this is what needs to change. This project showed the power of open data. And from open data, you get open democracy. And I think that is fundamental in society. And we all pay for this data that government has. I'm hoping other governments will use it. I mean, one of the things we did is we promoted this website at the United Nations. We wanted to make sure that because there is a UN stats community, so we wanted them to be aware of the website as well, to promote it to other governments where other disparities were clear, where they wanted to use their data in more open and transparent ways. Some governments don't collect data on ethnicity, but they collect data on gender, they collect data on disability. That is the other part of what can happen with the RDU. The blueprint is it could be across inequality issues. And so other governments could choose it for those purposes.
We feature ethnicity facts and figures within our catalogue of resources of great examples of open and openly available solutions.
Because it had never been done, it was going to be tricky just to bring government departments with us in terms of, this is a priority. The biggest challenge probably in that space was convincing people it could be done. Because when you have something that's never been done, pulling it off isn't the easiest task. But also then finding the audience, as I said, because there are websites that get very low viewer numbers, and there's some that take off overnight. So it was how are we going to make a website about ethnicity something that people did want to be able to access and talk about? And I think the demographic shifts in the UK, political realities globally, makes this a very topical and important thing that we all are going to care about. But also because we didn't make it only about ethnic minorities. We did say the white majority is also an ethnic group. So this is about all of us. And so we all have an ethnicity. So let's talk about that language. So making that language inclusive matters too. And I think that way, when you're that transparent about the challenge, then you can take people with you. But I find that more people are willing to do something positive once they know they've got a strong data set behind them and they've got evidence to back it up. And so in that sense, our data does have the credibility because it's cited in so many different places now, which does give me a lot of pride. It's true.